the Shall Remain in America Through Native Eyes. These are the series of the Commemoration Confirmation, which is the Jesus Christ Almighty for the real Jesus Christ Almighty walking on holy grounds of the Holy Grail, where we're at war with. There's still war, and never-ending war, and still war. We're going through nuclear deterrence, overturning soils and services. We're going through nuclear war deterrent on the United States American soil, and of course the White House, and also the Pentagon, and also the services here in Washington State. The Washington State has overturns and turns of nuclear power and services for nuclear power, which is abandonments and services that you can see. This is Crazy R's, Geronimo, Sitting Bull, and Sitting Bull's children, which occupy and are a straight nuisance to the community here in Washington State. Mr. Crazy Horse, Sitting Bull, and Geronimo and Sitting Bull and Colville and Yakima Reservation are a nuisance to the community. The mother and father and siblings admitting a real grandfather, the real mother, the real father of the native tribes. South Dakota, which is administration officer, this is Geronimo, Sitting Bull. And this is American natives and the true eyes of the Mayflower and also the Takusha Nation. Takusha Umpa means the grandfather, real original grandfather, and the Trail of the Tears and Geronimo and the Wounded Knee. These series of the special events include the services from the Yakima Reservation, always George Washington House, and the George Washington Sacagawea Trail, and also the Lewis and Clark Trail, the Lewis Clark the Sacagawea Trail, and also Columbus, Christopher Columbus. This goes through the services through Arizona, which was Washington State territory. Arizona belonged to Washington State, also belonged to the chief natives and Indians of Washington State, Yakima Reservation, Colville Reservation. These places are segregated because they have districts, counties, and states, and senators for each county and state. So this is about as real as it gets in these segregated states, counties, and states and jails, where the last duration of Geronimo was putting in jail. He was put in jail, and they took handcuffs to his hands and put him out the food slot and cut his hands out because he was eating and drinking water. So that his last brave heart was dragged to a jail cell and literally cutting his hands off and his body parts apart and put out to, they would say sea, but they put it out to South Dakota area. Tossed him. Left him for privileges for their archives. As you can see, the stack of bison bull, buffalo, that were eradicated and taken by, of course, the military militia, feeding all soldiers to devour all their reservations and counties and states that were populated in all their lands. Now this is a ceramic and imaginative courage process. These are, as you say, your services for the Native American leaders from the Mascot and Trask and Tucson, and that's Umpqua. Umpqua is the services they got. This is Geronimo, Fool's Crow, Resistant Impulsions and Lands of the series, which is South Dakota, Sturgis of the Mintic, but these are diplomatic, spiritual, legal, political procedures. This is by PBS. This is How Shall It Remain. This is after Mayflower, Vision Trail of Tears, and the Trail of Tears, and Geronimo and Wounded Knee. The American Experience. This is on PBS on DVD. This is Mid-Columbia Library at 101 East Main Street, Othello, Washington. That's 1620-1640. Mueller's Funeral Home, right across the street is Kennel Command. Kennel Command across the street, and this is the Kennel Command sitting in the Mid-Columbia Library. And this is a statutes of limitations that expired and still have no bars and shreds of tears. This is Engineering Ground Zero. This is by Nova. This is March 22nd anniversary 9/11, September 2001. Mueller's Funeral Home, Mueller's Funeral Home Parlor, Mueller's Funeral Home, Pasco, Washington. Also, Greenlee Memorial, Chapel Falls, Kennewick Avenue, connecting to the service to Kennewick High School services. And this is 911 Nova presents the epic story. This simple feature are fallen men that engineered by these services in Ground Zero. These services were engineered to come in a caravan with all explosives and engineered explosives and also Nemlite. That's Thermite. Thermite cuts down the railroad systems all the way to the basement of Ground Zero, and also Lemnite services into each beam tower, which is melted down, and also through a grand jury selection, picking hand-selected individuals to level the 911 American citizens, and that's pretty much 100% American citizens. The rest were flying engineers, and the campaign was New York, New Jersey, engineered Ground Zero by the 5 years construction over World War Trade Center. And that's Mueller's Funeral Home, FBI, CIA, Air Force, Navy, Marines, and also Army. Mr. Dale Johnson is a combatant services. Mr. Leonard Bambach, U.S. Marine Corps, and also Mueller, United States Air Force. Also the FBI and CIA Academy, Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, and also, of course, the administration office where they have the Virginia and also Charter Cable, now called Spectrum. Now Spectrum merged with Charter Cable, where they have George Bush administration first and last. His portrait, original document portrait of Mr. George Bush and Laura Bush and Barbara Bush and George Bush and Mr. McCain are now deceased, dropping their body at Overturf Murders, and that's Columbia Center Boulevard, Columbia Point, which is Kia Motors. It is called Ford Motors. Change of identities and services with their bankruptcy because the original owner still runs Ford Company. So the Sub-Zero with there's things they don't even tell you on September 11 Memorial Museum in the historic library and site. This is the Nova. This is grand jury selection. It's probably the best material you can get. The reels you get. This is the Washington, D.C. Archive and Memoriam. These are sign-ins. You come into any of the Gonzaga, Stanford, Harvard universities. It's a library, a historic library, and library, a historic library, and also the other historic library. Services any museum. These are sign-offs, and these are regions of error of locations during, before, and after the District of Columbia, and the segment menu for the services, as you say. This would be Mr. and Mrs. Castro. Mrs. Castro, Fidel Castro. This be, of course, the services for Bin Laden, Mr. Bin Laden, Mrs. Bin Laden, Grandpa Bin Laden, where they show up at International Airport, where George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., and George Bush sisters at the Blue Bridge and also International Airport, where Bin Laden goes into a beautiful vehicle after the September 11th, making sure ends meet. Deposit inquiries are full in effect, where Mr. Bin Laden and George Bush and George Sr. land and sit and located in the same location and walk away. And billionaire vehicles, billionaire airplanes, billionaire transactions with the FDIC. That's U.S. Bank, Chase Bank, Open Bank, Sterling Bank, and also Wells Fargo and Verizon. And that's live. These services they have for the District of Columbia segment. This is District Columbia, the Columbia Point, which is Yakima Reservation, which is Borders. This is District Columbia material made by Boise Cascade, making all money and funds through transactions to the Social Security funds. That's Gage, and 8131, Klamath, Cincinnati, Washington. That is Social Security Office, the main headquarters for the administration office, the CIA, FBI, FBI numbers, SID numbers, all of these administration offices that they tossed and they bind. This is the best probably Washington, D.C. you can get right here. Purification. Big purification you probably get for a history and also U.S. history class, because it's all nonfiction. Now we got a 911 supplemental. These are expert specials. Experts, these are whistleblowers. It means transvest and also any kind of witnesses that were around the area are stepping up to the plate and vouching and telling their stories, because these individuals couldn't resist watching September Fall, and they're going to be famous for telling the stories of all the aftermath of the C4, all the railroad systems, the Social Security office, all the Simon's malls, and they're sitting there loitering, protesters, getting in on the action just to get that extra money incentive, just to give them some services for their debut of being criminal services and different in jury selection. This was good material for them. You know what I'm saying? Now, Custer's Last Stand. This Custer's Last Stand is in Montana. Custer's Last Stand, there's tons of rocks. There's a cavalry, the north, the south, the cavalry. You got some neo-Nazi compound facilities, and these neo-Nazi compounds would be Adolf Hitler, where they removed Adolf Hitler's body, 3 different locations. 3 different locations. It'd be 4th, 5th location, 6th location. Who knows now? Since the American experience for Custer's Last Stand was done in Montana, Montana would be Walker's County, and not too far from the pond, which is a bunch of German browns. And German browns are like barracudas, basically, like piranhas. They got teeth from their mouth into their lips, inside their lips, all the way inside into their stomach. So their stomach is not like a mild intestine like the human being, or they have basically teeth all the way down into their esophagus, the sternum, their stomach muscles. Like there's any of your serratus, your stomachs, your buttocks. See this? They don't have no butt. They don't got legs, so they basically have all teeth all the way into their esophagus. And it's Custer's Last Stand. Pretty much, these are German browns. These German browns eat anything. They have ducks, mallards, frogs, baby frogs, no toads, and any duck, anything that amphibious and float. It's all game. You have no legs. If you were a duck, you would have no. Of course, grabbing the toes, and you know there's gonna be blood everywhere. And if it panics and it flips over and it can't swim because it has no legs, it's through with. You pretty much eat the neck, eat the eyeball, eat the head, grab the nose. It's pretty much razor sharp. And these German browns are so sophisticated, so unbelievable. They taste like duck. They taste like geese. They taste like anything that goes in that pond. It's pretty much, they're about 30, 40. Just depending on how big they get when you have so many individuals coming in there and just getting eaten. Amphibians, you got aviation campaigns that go in there. You got prisoner suites. You got all kinds. You got white minorities, the rich minorities. These get eaten by these German browns. Sophisticated individuals, you know. You think you can't swim, you can't eat, you can't ponder, you can't negotiate, you can't plea bargain, you can't deal with these individuals because there's no remorse for these individuals because they're the richest and all the richest individuals in population. And simple fact, you're on their land and you're through with it. Goes right through their digestion trap and it recycles. The whole place looks plentiful because all the soil base and services from their orifices is like a cycle. The air, the ocean, the ground, the soil. So that's why it looks so beautiful in Montana. And I stand out for Custer's Last Stand. They got a monument of Custer's Last Stand, a march memorial. It's called Mueller's Freedom Home. George Washington, Abraham Lincoln service. Custer's is a standpoint where they want to do Custer's Last Stand, the Sky Country. The Sky Country is like Colorado is a little bigger than Montana. Montana and Colorado is a little intermixed in that for aviation and also parachuting or parasailing or straight shooting at any kind of targets in the by services, uphill, downhill, slope area, all services. It's a challenge for some individuals. Some individuals like Custer's Last Stand is the perfect shootout, standoff competition series, which is Custer's Last Stand. So that's what it is, and why it is Custer's last stand. Now, Lincoln's secret weapon. Now, Lincoln's secret weapon was the 3 murder plots of Mr. Abraham Lincoln. Nobody liked Mr. Abraham because he was a lawyer. He was a judge. He laundered. He was a swabber. He was a swabber means anybody is swiping for DNA, RNA, and using his advancements, his political advancements of entrapping and imprisoning individuals like Mr. Ben Franklin that created electricity. They created the light bulb. They created the currency of kilowatts. Now, his son was a criminal. So in that midst of that area, Mr. Abraham Lincoln was killed and plotted and put on the cross, just like Jesus Christ Almighty. So this services for increments for the last stand. Let's be Lincoln's secret weapon to the prosper and for the courage for they stand for. This would be a good topic. Now, the History Channel on the images of the Civil War. Historic sites like every historic site or historic building or house or George Washington House or First President, Second President, Third President, James Madison, Federalist Papers, so forth. See, every house I reside on, all these presidents that lived in the house, where I sleep in, where I doorman at, and also where anything I did, use the bathroom, restroom, service, these are same services that he used. And he did not have any plans, and the plans fell as the History Channel. The images of the Civil War. You go to the backyard, you get ammunition, ballot muskets, you got cannons, you got cavalry, you got Hamburger Hill, you got soldiers, dead soldiers, orifices, bodies, in the soil itself, along with the Indians, all the Indians, and that's totally natural, because this natural History Channel is on CD now. It's on a DVD. Your common knowledge is on the Civil War. Has the images of the Civil War and propagations of the artwork of the services of known of the studying attention of individuals standing, militia parties, Republican, Democrats, and independents. And these are commonwealth and observed and documents and doctrine of writing letters, writing notes, mothers, fathers, uncles, moms, dads, wife or wives, or other wives in different states, or district senator's office, or any, how would you say, Babylon, where God walked the earth. Now, Gettysburg's Address is Tony Scott and Riley Scott. Gettysburg Address would put it to you as firmly as negotiating a world little note. Like Samsung 7, Verizon, where they all exploded. And they have to be replaced by a proclamation, occupation, a handout, a cop-out, a seizure, affidavit, a memo, memorandum, a margin in the Chief Justice Department, where they just put a flag up and make things up. As you can see, this is living proof of it. This is Tony Scott and Ridley Scott. This flag, this Wash State flag, and this flag that flies on the George Washington himself in the Pacific into war campaign. This is Gettysburg's Address, so this is made every day. This is ISB 14229 4236-A. This is the real as it gets. This is Gettysburg Address and the epic 2-hour history book. Unbelievable. On CD. Yeah, eBay. eBay has these services. Now you got, of course, the service provided for all the children now, because of Felix Barela. These civil services and the disputes for crossing the street, and people making a scene watching this officer screaming out loud, threatening Felix Barela. So we're going to go on the sidewalk and prosecute the whole United States of America and all foreign countries to the dispute of legal citizenship of the United States of America. Now, the citizenship, ever since I stepped off or crawled from Air Force One into my mother and father's womb and mother's father's hands, the real mother, the real father. See, the surface is scraping. It's just small minute of this millimeter of poison bile of contaminants that will never escaping anybody in the services of mankind. In the English service and American service, as you can see, this is a civil war, and this is an epic. This is a pivotal war brought. This is the war crimes and services that dispute the original war campaign, nuclear war itself, in the White House, and nuclear war itself in the Pentagon, and also the deterrence of services they will not tell you, which is a true fact and written. Now you got DVDs, you got eBay, and you also got, of course, the services online. There it is. It was a civil war. Did you see the cannons and all the muskets and also the services they have for the compound services and the burning fashion is getting rid of evidence and also getting rid of the body in many ways. There are pieces of militia archives and services that are totally off kilter. As you can notice, this is Mrs. and Mrs. Masterpiece Landmark Historic Site, where they had the sibling, the real child. Oh look. Now Ken Burns' epic documentary brings to life America's destructive services in a defining conflict. Now this is the generals, NATO admirals, and this cemetery, Mueller Cemetery, holds bodies of Bob Kennedy and John F. Kennedy. These are my hands in the services. Double cleft letters, and the caskets are made on Court Street, Pasco, Washington, and Greenville. And also J. Mueller administration, that's all Kennewick Avenue. See these services and take a good gander if they're of all the recollection report on all the annual reports and also the service in elementary school, middle school, high school, college. These services just run away from the individual truth. Now American Trump on this series has an affidavit series on a memo, and this is also Mr. Greenwich. Trump America, truth about our nation's come back. Ivanka could talk to Roberta and talk to Loda anytime. Now the generals and services I have for Mr. Donald Trump on this part is Trump and his generals, the cost of chaos and petty burdens. Nothing but the truth. And the services they have, but this is NATO. These are NATO ordinances. The services of nothing but the truth. Now, the nation after Trump. Guy Perfecting. This is by Don't Junior. No. Now, he's contacted all their services and all their disputes for the, of course, the campaign and the voters registration. This is going to be the 9th and tomorrow's the 10th. This is presidential election. This service and democracy, American democracy, is American history as it speaks. You can match the signatures on all the administration office where there's one's right, one's wrong, and there's no right, there's no wrong. And it's pretty much documented in black and white. That's just the surface. Now you got a starting series of making history and the monument of this beautiful daily show of Trevor Noah, Donald J. Trump, Presidential Tweeter Library. Now, I'll give you a laptop and give it to the administration office, the White House Administration, Pentagon Services, because the archive has my name on it. It's in Donald Trump's on Mueller's administration office. That's, of course, Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, CIA, FBI, and CIA. The biggest FBI academy is 300 acres to 5,000 acres, and 500 acres to 300 acres to 5,000 acres. How would you know? These services they got for the FBI Academy, training compound facilities, and also Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, they get tossed and AWOL'd every second of the day, 7 days a week. Any minute, any second now, they're being AWOL'd. This service that they have, Mr. Donald Trump, The Daily Show, and Trevor's and the Donald Trump, these are children from age 1, newborn, and pulled out of the services, the hospitals as newborns, or jaundice. These are the children that are mistreated in many ways in their service, being exposed to the services. Of course, Air Force One, the new Air Force One, and also the landing gear where it landed in Nebraska, Washington, where it all started. The myths of the criminal convicts and services of the mishaps of the disguised cowards, fools, that walk into funeral homes and parlors and services, and also the distribution of Class A uniforms and ties and bodegas. This is a nasty enemy come fired. Magma dead puppet. I said if I ain't a guy of no review sound fair, for feel the deal and the art. And this is a nasty enemy come and fire magma dead puppet. The dead puppet. Elements of the style of photos in the president. The hands of these services of the style and also the Samsung 7. Donald J. Trump. G5. Not G4. G5. Is a Kvyuf. Now, nobody has more respect but the service to realize that it is a dustful and pitiful grab of multiple inquisitions serving. Composite the memo of the body slam on the CNN debut. The CNN also the did my button works of services on Facebook, on tweet, and on the services for presidential elections. Now, Mary, this is very stable genial services that been occupied on this service on this page. Now, page after page, masterwork worship. Look at the series on these increments and services. And this is not for billions, not 500 billion, 500 trillion, of course, for advertisements. That calculated to the dollar. For the dollar value was only 40 cents to the dollar. Now it's 100 pennies for each dollar. Not 40 cents for the dollar, and the rest are 30 cents for the dollar. And Obamacare and Obama's presidential 10-year recession, 10-year bankruptcy, 10-year recession, 10-year torment of the quiet, hush-hush Hall of Fame, if you call that the Hall of Fame. But this is Emmy Awards, not... Now, George Washington, grandmother and father's Emma. Now, the Emmy Awards is kind of shifty. Research that. It's real as it gets. It's real as it gets.